with talking about inequalities, can anyone tell me what an inequality is? What's an inequality? Something that's not equal, right? Inequalities, it's a math sentence that compares, stop throwing things. Math sentence that compares, thank you.
Where do you want it?
You can just set it right by the Skittles bag over there. Compares two numbers or expressions using an inequality symbol. Okay, so they are not going to be equal to each other. One is going to be more than, less than, more than or equal to, or less than or equal to. Okay, Micah, you need to put that away. So the inequalities will look like this. This one is less than. This one is greater than. This one is less than or equal to. And this one is greater than or equal to. Okay, so those are the symbols we're going to be using, and it's just comparing. I don't know how you learned it. I feel like in elementary school they always do like the crocodile or the Pac-Man or something like that, right? You eat the bigger number, so you may have learned it that way. But what we're going to be doing with it, this is example 4 in lesson 1-3, is we're going to write an inequality to compare some numbers. So, for our first one, we're going to compare the square root of 17. We're going to put some symbol in between, and 4 1/3. Okay, so we're just looking for what symbol would go in that box. Any ideas how we can figure it out? Anyone know what the square root of 17 is? Your calculator does. Okay, so square root of 17 is 4.123. What's 4 1/3? What's 1/3 as a decimal? 0.3 repeating, right? So this is 4.3 repeating. Which one of those two numbers is bigger?
The one on the right.
The one on the right, 4 1/3 is bigger. So what way is my symbol going to open up? Toward the 4 1/3 or towards the square root of 17? Toward the 4 1/3. So the square root of 17 is less than 4 1/3. Okay, so you're just going to figure out what does the decimal look like and compare those two numbers. How about this one? If I give you 3.75 compared to 3 2/3. Okay? 3.75 is already a decimal, so you have less work to do on this one because it's already in that decimal form. What's 3 2/3 as a decimal? 3.6 repeating. Okay? Which one of those is bigger? The 3.75, and you always eat the bigger one, right? So it's going to be greater than, so 3.75 is greater than 3.6 repeating. Okay? Questions on how you do those? Yes. All right, last one of these. The square root of 129 compared to 11.52. Okay, so you're going to want to plug in the square root of 129. What do you get? 11.357. It keeps going, right? Which one of those is the bigger number?
The one on the right.
The one on the right. So your symbol is going to be which one? Less than or greater than?
No, wait.
Less than. The less than symbol. Okay, so the square root of 129 is less than 11.52. Okay? Questions on that? Okay, then the only other thing we're going to do in this lesson is we're going to put them in order now. So this is example 5. Put them in order, least to greatest. Okay, so I'm going to give you 5 numbers. Yes. Leave yourself some space underneath this. You'll see why. You might want to spread the numbers out a little bit. So the square root of 4, 0.4, negative 2/3, the square root of 2, and negative 1.5. Okay, so those are our numbers. We want the smallest number first, then the next smallest, then the middle number, then the next biggest, and then the biggest number last, okay? What do you suppose we have to do first to be able to tell which one's the littlest?
Do all the square roots.
Do the square roots and work out the fraction. Put them all in decimal form, okay? So what is the square root of 4? 2, okay? 0.4 isn't going to change, 0.4. What's negative 2/3? Negative 0.6 repeating, okay? The square root of 2?
1.
Not exactly 1, close to 1. 1.414. You all right back there? And then negative 1.5, okay? So now what you're going to do is you're going to put them least to greatest. So where it's a little bit challenging is I don't want these numbers least to greatest. I want the red numbers least to greatest, okay? So which one's the smallest number?
0.4.
The negative, right? Negative 1.5 would be the first one. So here's what I would do if I were you. Watch my process here because this is very helpful. Are you with me? What I would do if I were you is I would set it up just like this with your decimals below, and then I would number them 1 through 5 up above. So I would put a number 1 here and then circle it so we know it's not the number 1, it's your 1 in order of 1 through 5. Okay? So we're done with those. Cross it out. I mean, don't cross it out so you can't read it because you still need to use it, but just a slash. What would come next? Negative 0.6, but we're going to write negative 2/3, okay? What would come next? 0.4, right? This one next. So done with that one, done with that one. What would come next? 1.414. Okay, and then your last one would be the square root of 4. So your answer is just putting the numbers down for that. So negative 1.5, negative 2/3, 0.4, the square root of 2, and the square root of 4. Okay, this is your answer. Does that make sense? Okay. Could you put those numbers on a number line?
Yes, you can. No, you can.
You can. Here's the deal. If you look at your decimals, they all fall between negative 2 and a positive 2. So if I call this negative 2, negative 1, 0, 1, and 2. Okay? My numbers would be a negative 1.5. That would be here. Right? Negative 2/3 would be about here. 0.4 is a little less than halfway. The square root of 2 is 1.4-ish, so that's going to be about here. And the square root of 4 is 2. Okay, so you should be able to put them on a number line using your decimal points or the other numbers to help you get there. All right. Okay, one last problem, and then we're done with the lesson. Same type of problem, we're just going to do it again. 3.5, negative 2.1, the square root of 9, negative 7 over 2, and the square root of 5. Okay, so 3 of them, you're going to have to convert to decimals or whole numbers, depending on what they are. So 3.5 is going to stay 3.5. Negative 2.1 is going to stay negative 2.1. What is the square root of 9?
3.
3. What's negative 7 over 2? You can plug it into your calculator if you want. Negative 7 divided by 2 is negative 3.5. And then the square root of 5, again, plug it into your calculator. You get 2.23. Okay, so now let's rank them. What's the lowest number? What's the smallest one?
Negative 2.1.
Negative 3.5, or negative 7 over 2 is what we're going to write down. What's the next smallest?
Negative 2.1.
Negative 2.1. Okay, what's the next smallest? 2.23, so the square root of 5. Then what?
3.
Then 3, the square root of 9. Then 3.5. Okay, so your answer, putting them in order, is negative 7 over 2. Remember, I don't want the decimal version. I want what was given to you. I want these numbers rewritten. Okay, so negative 7 over 2, negative 2.1, the square root of 5, the square root of 9, and 3.5. Okay, so if we were to put those on a number line, last thing, and we're done. This is negative 4, negative 3, negative 2, negative 1, 0, 1, 2. My numbers aren't writing. 3. Ran out of room. This would be 4. Okay, so my numbers, negative 7 over 2 would be here. Negative 2.1 would be here. The square root of 5 is 2.23. The square root of 9 is 3. Oops, square root of 9, sorry. And then 3.5 would be there. Any questions on those? Okay.